Good morning, welcome back. Hope you have a wonderful evening. So we will now begin today's session. Please, Pak Eko.
Thank you, Marifik. I'm sorry we are slightly late, 8 minutes late. Okay, as Marifik said, I hope that all of you enjoy the dinner last night. And I heard that some of the delegation decided to walk around, maybe some sightseeing to see Bandung at night. But whatever you did, I hope that you all enjoy. Now we are back to the business. We have several agenda to finish today, and we are going to start with the agenda item 4, which is country report from the cooperating countries. Yeah, this is a continuation of the yesterday agenda. Now we will start with Germany. Yeah, Germany present virtually. Germany, are you ready? Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, please start.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for ECHO. I hope my presentation can be well seen and I can be well heard. Good morning, Selamat pagi from Hanover to all delegates and participants of the annual session. My name is Arne Hoffmann-Rothe and I'm presenting the Cooperating Country Report for BGR Germany. BGR, for those who are not familiar with the abbreviation, is the Federal Institute for Geosciences and Natural Resources. BGR is committed to protecting the human habitat and promoting the sustainable use of natural resources as a state geological survey of Germany. The tasks, according to the founding decree, are to advise the federal German government and German economy in all aspects related to geosciences and natural resources. It promotes science and industry in these fields. It conducts national and international geoscientific and technical cooperation projects, and it collects on a federal basis. It collects standardizes, harmonizes, and provides geoscientific and raw material data. It also hosts the Federal Seismological Survey of Germany. BGR has international activities worldwide through its different affiliations, like the German Mineral Resources Agency, the DERA. It also collaborates with many countries and institutions in the mineral resources sector. BGR conducts marine research in licensed areas on manganese nodules and massive sulfides. It is also involved in polar research and Arctic and Antarctic research. But one of its main tasks internationally is to conduct technical cooperation projects on behalf of the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. And in the presentation today, I will, of course, focus on the region of the CCOP member countries, but also will say a few more words compared to the previous years regarding the technical cooperation projects conducted with our partner countries in the region. The funding ministry for technical cooperation is the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. And in last year's presentation, I already said that there have been some changes in the list of cooperation partners of the German government in development cooperation. That is a so-called strategy BMZ 2030. Information on that you can find on the link that is cited here on the slide. Last year I said that there are some changes on the way, and the plan was to fade out of technical cooperation with several countries in the CCOP member region that involved Laos, PDR, and Mongolia. But things are rather dynamic, so I'm happy to announce that there are some positive developments and that also the German government is going to continue its bilateral cooperation with Laos and Mongolia. So for the CCOP member countries, we have official development cooperation partnerships with the countries shown here, with Cambodia, with Laos, with Mongolia. Global partners where BMZ works together on tackling the issues, defining common goals, common global future and protecting global goods is with China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. So what is BGR doing in these technical cooperation projects? This slide is also quite familiar to those who have been following the annual sessions. We are happy that we can continue with our bilateral cooperation with Laos, PDR, and Mongolia in the future. Technical cooperation projects that BGR conducts are all involved in the fields of mineral resources, groundwater and soil, geothermal energy, or natural hazards and risks. They commonly have a duration of 3 to 4 years and a budget of 2 to 4 million euros. This budget is an in-kind contribution from the German government for joint implementation with the partner institutions. And commonly, BGR seconds staff to our partner institutions in the countries for the time span of the project. So I would like to have a quick bounce through some of the projects we are conducting currently in Laos, PDR, in Vietnam, and in Mongolia. With Indonesia, we are still negotiating or finalizing the implementation agreement with Badan Geologi on a project in the fields of geothermal. So let's start with Laos PDR and have a look at what we are doing here in the fields of mineral, in the mineral resource sector. With Laos PDR, we are working together since 2011, and the current project has a time span until October 2024. It is about the support for improvement of mine safety and environmental protection at mines in Laos PDR, to support mining supervisory authorities in order to improve the governance of the mining operations. Our partner is the Ministry of Energy and Mines, and the operational partner is the Department of Mine Management. In the previous project phases, we have worked on a national level, and now best practices will be rolled out to provincial departments of energy and mines. What are we doing and what are the key interventions? It's about the assessment of the current legal framework and of compliance systems for the enterprises working in the mining sector. The improvement of the inspection system on national and provincial level, that involves the organizational development. It involves guidelines and manuals on mining inspection processes, on-the-job training, quality assessment, and of course the reporting schemes of the enterprises towards the authorities. The mining information system, it's a database that has been built on national level, is under review again, and will be implemented on provincial level. And of course, all these topics in the mineral resources sector are cross-cutting issues, so it does not only involve the Ministry of Energy and Mines. There are also a lot of environmental issues for which the Ministry for Environment is responsible. So the project also supports the interministerial government coordination and supervision in that field. We move on now to the groundwater projects with the example of the project in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we had a project called Improvement of Groundwater Protection that came to an end in June 22, but a follow-up project could be set up with the title Climate Resilient Management of Groundwater and Geo-Hazards in Vietnam. This project will run until mid-25. The objective is to improve the regulatory, institutional, and technical requirements for climate resilient use of groundwater resources and the reduction of geohazards. The aspect of geohazards is new in this cooperation, which also means that we are expanding the stakeholders, the partnership structure of the project. The project is hosted by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, and the main operational partner is the National Center for Water Resources Planning and Investigation. For the topics of geohazard, we are currently working out the topics with the Vietnam Institute for Geosciences and Mineral Resources. The project is about building capacities in groundwater management and administration. The aim is to develop practical solutions for groundwater and geohazard management. BGR accompanies the digital transformation processes and is also involved in raising awareness and to foster science-based policy advice. So in the previous phase, for example, which had a strong focus on the Mekong Delta region, there were cadasters of licensed abstraction wells worked out as pilots in one province, and that had been replicated in other provinces by now. We promoted provincial groundwater monitoring networks, and the project was also involved in acquiring data on several topics such as land subsidence, the 3D subsurface model, and of course the issues of groundwater quantity, quality, and the age of the waters. As a third example, I would like to have a look at the mineral resources sector of Mongolia. Mongolia is also a long-standing partner of BGR. The project on capacity development and mineral economics in the mining sector ended in March 22, but there is a follow-up project on advisory services for sustainable mineral resources management in Mongolia. This project is listed here to end in December 23, but now, according to the new strategy of the funding ministry, there will be a prolongation as well. Partners here is the Ministry of Mining and Heavy Industries, together with the Mineral Resources and Petroleum Agency, and also with the National Geological Survey. The project is about building capacities to support transparent and efficient governance of the mining sector. It focuses strongly on digital services in the mineral resources sector. The Mineral Resources and Petroleum Agency has worked out a computerized mining cadastre system, which we are updating towards the actual recent legal framework, and also a e-reporting system for mining enterprises towards the authority has been established in Ulaanbaatar. Guidelines for the estimation of mineral resources and reserves for selected minerals will be a topic of the running project, as well as the geodata management and map publication processes. In Mongolia, not only in Mongolia, but the Mineral Resources and Petroleum Agency is taking it very serious. It's a topic of the socio-economic impact of mining activities. So we are also supporting and having a look what is the socio-economic impact assessment, how is that done in other countries, how can that be compared to the Mongolian setting. As previously, I've listed some publications of common interest which stem from the work that we are doing in the technical cooperation sector, but as well as publications from affiliated institutions as the German Raw Materials or Mineral Resources Agency, DERA. These reports are in English, of course. You can find the links in the written report, and they cover quite a range of topics. There is a strong focus on the mineral resources sector at the moment, and I want to highlight one booklet shown here on the right-hand side on e-mobility and battery raw materials. We have heard that already in the presentation of Mr. Hee-Soo Kim from Korea, that this topic regarding battery raw materials is of great importance and is also a topic that is followed strongly in BGR in Germany. So finally, leaving the technical cooperation sector, just to round up the international activities, I want to mention the Sino-German cooperation between the Ministry for Economic and Climate Action and the Beijing Research Institute of Uranium Geology. Here, scientists work together in investigating, in conducting laboratory investigations for final disposal of radioactive wastes, and Chinese bentonite is being tested in laboratory conditions for its barrier behavior. There's common exchanges with the Chinese Geological Survey on several topics. Unfortunately, the last 2 years of the pandemic crisis have hampered direct exchanges, and I hope this can take up some speed now again. The Landslide Hazard and Risk Assessment in Lanzhou project, LARA, with the Chinese Institute for Geo-Environmental Monitoring, came to an end in 2021, and the colleagues are now jointly working on publications of the results. And of course, there are contacts regarding the activities in the Antarctic region through the Antarctic programs, contacts with the Korea Polar Research Institute, COPRI, that is running a research station, the Yangbogu station, which is not far away from the research station Gondwana in the Terra Nova Bay in the Ross Sea, that is run by BGR. And as far as I know, the BGR crew just set off from Germany to take its shift through during the winter now. Well, I'll leave it at that for a quick view on the international activities in the CCOP member country region. I would like to invite and encourage all member country institutions to contact me or BGA for information regarding the setup of geoscientific technical cooperation projects within the framework of German development cooperation. And I'm also looking forward to take up, after the pandemic crisis, the work with the CCOP Technical Secretariat to jointly conduct dissemination workshops for specific results or project themes of the technical cooperation projects to spread them in the CCOP member country region. Terima kasih and thank you.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Germany. So I invite delegates that have a...
Good morning.
Oh yeah, Philippines, please.
Okay, from the Philippines, the projects that you have implemented or still implementing in other Southeast Asian countries, they are also very relevant to our countries. What is the possibility that the same would be extended to the Philippines, particularly on the climate resilient management of groundwater resources inventory and probably vulnerabilities? And second is the capacity building for mineral resources development in the mining environment management, and probably include also social development of our mining communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the funding for technical cooperation projects, we are depending on the governmental decisions on partner countries, and actually the Philippines are currently not within the scheme of direct bilateral official development cooperation partner countries of the funding ministry. So we won't have the possibility to create projects like the ones that I've enlisted now, but there's always the opportunity to also conduct regional projects or triangular projects where we have Indonesia, Vietnam, or other countries on board, and where we can tackle these topics jointly. This is a scheme that is still followed up by BMZ, by the funding ministry, but it also always depends on the main development cooperation issues that are followed. The German government tries to coordinate the topics with other donor countries, so that not all topics are done by Germany. So it always depends a bit on is the groundwater sector or is the mineral resources sector of a specific country also on the thematic list of topics that are that are supported. So to round it up, we will not have the possibility for bilateral projects the way that we are doing in Vietnam and Mongolia, or in Laos, PDR with the Philippines, but we can always try to build up or to have some idea for triangular projects, for example. And what of course we should do, and what we can do, is to have sharing of knowledge with the dissemination workshops that we can implement with the help of CCOP and the technical secretariat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well noted.
Oh, you. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Anne. So I really appreciate your support. And then, what time is it now over there? It's 4 o'clock in the morning. So he come to join this meeting 4 o'clock in the morning. Why don't you give him a big applause for his support, strong support, even 4 o'clock in the morning online to give us such a wonderful presentation. I really appreciate that. And then, as always, BGR supported many countries bilaterally and also as a global partner. So I'm really expecting, as we are almost the end of the pandemic situation, so from maybe next year, we could continue your workshop, as you already mentioned, dissemination workshops and so on, and to have some more impact or benefit to all our member countries. And then we also bring some of the issue to be benefit to your organization and also to Germany. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would
Mr.
appreciate
Chairman.
that.
Oh, yes, yes, please. Denmark.
Good morning, Arne. This is Johannes from the advisory group. I just want to use this opportunity, since you have wake up so early this morning, to tell you that you were missed in our meetings. We are looking forward in having you back again in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I also would like to say something on behalf of the Indonesian government. Thank you very much for Germany, who continuing support us in the field of geology. Your ambassador has visited us here. Thank you. Okay, give him applause, big applause. So we are continuing to next country, which is Russian Federation. Yes.
Good morning, dear colleagues. Could you please have that seat? So today I would like to briefly familiarize you with the main results of cooperation of Russian Federation and CCOP member countries, and the details are provided in the annual report. But here I just briefly would like to briefly talk about some main results. So the next slide, please. In the frames of the cooperation of Russian Federation to CCOP member countries, the period, this is the mistake, for 2021-2022 year, is characterized, of course, by a lower activity owing to the pandemic influence. However, I would say that notable projects are attributed to the cooperation with People's Republic of China, then Mongolia, and I would say that several notable projects have been done and are being done with in the frames of the IGCP projects of UNESCO. So the main scientific projects, of course, are related to the fundamental geoscience programs, then of course geophysics and ore and mineral resources, of course energy sector, and the geoecology and Geo-Hazards. So the next slide, please. I would like to pay your attention to cooperation of Russian Federation with the projects of People's Republic of China, which are funded by, from Russian side, it's Russian Science Foundation, and from the Chinese side is the Natural Science Foundation of China. And now 111 scientific projects in all areas of geoscience are under review. As far as I know from the Russian part, all the results are already known, and we're expecting the review from the Chinese side. The next slide, please. As for the scientific joint work, it is mainly related to the research and prospecting projects, and the work is focused on both field geological and, of course, analytical joint works with the use of the actual techniques and procedures. Here you can see the field works with our colleagues from Taiwan, within the Central Asia, but I would say that the main object, among others, are also not only Central Asia, but this is the then Northwest China, Mongolia, southern part of Siberia, then North Tarim Craton part, then West Pacific, and, surprise, surprise, Belemorian province within the Finno-Scandinavian shield. So, and also we have, I would say, plenty of scientific projects with our colleagues from China, which are related with the use of the analytics, especially the isotopic and the very high resolution scanning and tomography. The next slide, please. This conference, which was called the Deep Earth Exploration in Practices, was in November in 2021, and I would like also to pay your attention to it, since the conference was a really multidisciplinary, starting with the structure and global geodynamics and fundamental problems of continental crust formation and so on. Also deposit formation, which is responsible for the devastating hazards, and then the surface topography, which eventually affect the climate and environment and our modern life. So the conference was really multidisciplinary, and the conference was the initiative of various sponsors from Asia, Europe, and the USA. So the next slide, please. This is also, I would say, the really important work. It took more than 10 years to provide the overview and detail of the active faults of Eurasia database. So now it is the largest and the most comprehensive collection of active faults of Eurasia and the adjacent seas. And this work was has been published recently in a very high-ranking journal, Earth Citizen Science Data. It's incredible for geology, impact factor of 11. So, and I strongly recommend to familiarize with this work. So, the next slide, please. And also the activities related to the IGCP projects in UNESCO and Geological Society, International Geological Society. These are two notable projects which are now available. The first is the sandstone type uranium deposits, which is being done in cooperation with People's Republic of China, with Mongolian, Canadian and British scientists. And also this is more paleontological IGCP project related to the study of Cretaceous dynamic and climate in Asia in cooperation with scientists from China and Mongolia as well. The next slide, please. Traditionally, Russian scientists work within Mongolia. That's why we can see that more than 10 research groups from Russia conducted their field works in Mongolia in this field period of 2022, and the topics were very, very different and diverse. Also, these were the fundamental problems like the issues of tectonics and geodynamics, also neotectonics and seismic, and geochemistry, also, of course, mineral resources and paleontology. The next slide, please. And the project, which was very attractive, I would say, and gave more information, was this year is the final year for this IGCP project, which is called Organic Architecture and Cluster Growth from Aggression to Collision, because most part of this project was initiated by Chinese and Russian geologists in cooperation with Mongolian and European scientists, and a lot of field trips were conducted also in South Siberia and in Mongolia. The next slide, please. As for the mutual educational programs, so we still have our nice project of Shenzhen University. It is the educational project initiated by the Russian and Chinese leaders, co-founded by the Moscow State University and Beijing Institute of Technology, and which is invested by the Shenzhen Municipal People's Government. So it is still valid and it works good. So the next slide, please. And to sum up, I would say that the scientific community, I would say that this is a really strong one, and I would like to pay your attention to CCOP member countries, that it is very important to collaborate in the frames of science, and to pay your attention to fundamental problems in geoscience and regional geology, petrology, metamorphism, and so on. So you do not hesitate to contact me if it is interesting. So the next slide, please. Thank you for your attention.
Now I invite delegates. Yeah, Marifi.
Sorry, China would like to say something.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yes, China, please.
Good morning, everyone. Russia delegate gave a very good presentation, and during the past period, we have carried out so many cooperation projects with Russia. We have carried out cooperation under the framework of UNESCO, but in this presentation, I would not give a gently remind. ROC Taiwan should be deleted from the PowerPoint. It is just you just refer to Taiwan or Taiwan region.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, I understand.
Thank you very much for your cooperation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, China, for a reminder.
Okay.
Anyone would like to add some
My
comment?
colleague will give another question.
Thank you very much, Afisa, for your very excellent presentation. I noticed there is a tectonic study in the region, including CCOP regions. Are those studies involved in many geophysical methods or just the geology? Thank you.
My personal studies, or you mean our institute, or in general?
No, I just noticed you have a PPT. There is showing the tectonic importance in the region, including some geological fault structures and the kind of boundaries of different units of geology. I just want to know what method do you use for this classification or for this delineation in these structures? Do you use geophysics methods or other related disciplinaries? Thanks.
Well, I would say that these are the different types of methods used, and geochemistry, local geochemistry and geophysics, I think the leading ones now, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We are very interested in this study.
Thank you.
I may contact you in future. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Well, we still have time. If you want somebody to want to have a question or comment. So,
can I?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation on the very scientific and presentation. And I would like to ask you, is there any possibility that, because CCOP is the kind of intergovernmental organization who try to have some benefit to member countries and both cooperating countries together. So your very scientific research and project and effort, I think there should be some possibility to have real tangible impact to our member countries somehow. So I just no need to answer now, but it's a very appreciate if you could find out the way your high-level researches through IGCP can impact, benefit our 16 member countries in CCOP.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, give her applause. I think this was a final cooperating countries report, yeah. So we will continue with agenda item 4.2, which is cooperating organization report. We will start with IERI.
Good morning. Okay, today I would like to introduce our collaborating activities with the CCOP member countries. So I'm the director of IRI, and can I have next slide, please? So maybe you are not familiar with our university and our institute. So our institute, IRI, is the research institute in the university. The name of our university is Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology. So Gwangju locates southwestern part of Korean Peninsula. So it takes 1.5 hours distance from Seoul to Gwangju by bullet train. So Gwangju is famous for our traditional culture, food, and science and technology. Next slide, please. So our university, GIST, Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology, is the government-supported research-oriented university. So recently, our university ranked number 4 for the citation per faculty in case ranking. So our university is young and small, but we are focusing on research excellency. Next slide, please. So we have 3 goals. The IRI is the research institute in GIST, and we have 3 main activities. The first one is international collaboration. Second one is capacity building, such as internship program. The third one is research. So IRI is a funding agent for research to many collaborating countries. Also, we are conducting our own research activities. Next slide, please. So this is the strategy of our IRI. So we are developing new topics and programs. Mainly, we are focusing on climate change adaptation and sustainable technology. And using this technique, we would like to implement this technology into the real field site. I will show several examples from this presentation. Next slide, please. For the international collaboration, so IRI is the observer member of COP meeting. So from 2017, we actively participate in the COP meeting, and we organized one workshop in the COP meeting. Last year in the UK, we organized one meeting. The topic is climate change and roles of adaptation technology. So we are the observer member of CTCN. CTCN is a climate technology network under UNFCCC to host this COP meeting. Next slide, please. So for the international collaboration, we organize international conference every year, but 2020 and 2021, we cannot organize because of Corona. But in last September, we organized International Conference on Pacific Basin Consortium for Environment and Health in Jeju Island. Hopefully, you can come next time. Next slide, please. This is the research project which we are doing. So recently, we have one KUNDP project. It will be explained later. Also, we are doing one CTCN pro bono project in Cambodia. So mainly, we provide the water filtration system to secure safe drinking water to the local people. And another project is from APN, Asia Pacific Network. So we are working arsenic issue in groundwater near the Mekong River area. Next slide, please. So we developed one microfiltration system that is a gravity-driven membrane. This system is microfiltration. So membrane technique is very simple physical separation. So there is a small pore hole in the membrane. If contaminant is bigger than that, it cannot pass. Depending on pore size, we have microfiltration, pore size 10 to minus 6 meter, and nanofiltration is 10 to minus 9 meter. For the bacteria, which is related with waterborne disease, microfiltration is enough. But for arsenic and heavy metal, the ion size is small, we need nanofiltration. So I will show two case studies for this filtration system. Next slide, please. Then here you can see, so we design the membrane into the container. So we have a final product. Also, we can install our membrane into the container. It takes only 10 minutes, so we can have safe drinking water without any electricity. Next slide, please. So this is KUNDP project phase 1 about the science and technical training for water quality monitoring and management of sustainable water resources. Next slide, please. The second phase, we are focusing on the Indonesia and Cambodia. Next slide, please. So here you can see our target site in Cambodia and Indonesia. Next slide, please. So this is one slide for the case study in Indonesia. So SMP Naringgul in Indonesia. Here you can see the large size of water storage tank. So we install our membrane, then we can provide safe drinking water. Next slide, please. And recently we have one project in Laos from the funding of Korean government. And 2 or 3 years ago, there was a big flooding in Laos, especially in Atapu area. The dam was collapsed. So many people lost their house. They moved into the refugee camp. But unfortunately, the groundwater in refugee camp was contaminated with arsenic. Actually, contamination is not the proper word. This is natural enrichment. So we provide nanofiltration system for removal arsenic in groundwater. So here you can see our nanofiltration system. And left-hand side one is microfiltration, which was donated to the Myanmar recently. Next slide, please. And this is the nanofiltration which were donated in September last month. So we provide 3 nanofiltration systems. So we remove the most of arsenic in the groundwater. Next slide, please. So this is the field survey and workshop in Atapu province. So we show how to use this system. Next slide, please. And so after we install this system, we will regularly monitor the water quality. Then this is about research. So ILI is also funding, research funding, the providing agency. So from 2004, we provide the funding to many countries. Here you can see the list of CCOP collaborating countries: Cambodia, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Mongolia, Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam. Vietnam has the most funding from our project, and Thailand too. Next slide, please. So this is a project report. Next slide. And one final project is the Asia Pacific Network project about arsenic. So in Cambodia, we collect the groundwater near the Mekong River in Kandal province. Here you can see our preliminary result. The WHO standard for arsenic in groundwater is 10 ppb. But here you can see one sample is more than 600, 700. So this is heavily enriched with arsenic. The next step, we will provide arsenic nanofiltration system. Next slide. And this is the international collaboration capacity building from our program. From 2004 until 2020, we invited 171 young scientists from 27 countries. In this internship program, we provide the international flight airfare, and we support living expense for 6 months. While they stay at GIST, they can join the class, they collaborate with the supervisor, then they can prepare one report from this internship program. Next slide. Recently, from the suggestion by Dr. Young-Ju Lee, we have a CCOP ILA internship program from 2019 fall. She is the first young scientist to be invited from Indonesia. She successfully finished this internship, and luckily she has a Korean government scholarship to continue her PhD. Now she is a PhD student in GIST. Next slide, please. And this is another young scientist from Thailand, from DGR, Dr. Manusawi Hengswan. She successfully finished her internship. Now she returned back to Thailand. Next slide. And so far, we have 5 CCOP interns. I already introduced 2. In the last batch before Corona, fall 2020, we invited 3 interns, one from DMR in Thailand, one from Mongolia, one from Vietnam. She's from Bigama. Yeah. Next slide, please. Also, we sent our students and young scientists to the international organization as outbound interns. So far, we sent many interns to UNU, But hopefully we can send our intern to CCOP in next year. Next slide. And this is a strategic diagram of our ILI. Then I can skip this. Next slide. And next slide, please. Next slide. So finally, we want to be the world's best low-carbon, green growth, climate change technology provider in the world. Next slide. Okay. Before I finish, I want to show one video clip. So our GDM, gravity-driven membrane, can provide safe drinking water without any electricity. No maintenance is needed. So in the lab, we install our membrane in the container. Then I will show how we can produce clean water. So can I see the slide? Okay. So here we have clean water. So you will be surprised, see the quality of source water. From this water, we can have this safe drinking water. Okay. Hopefully we can provide this system to many collaborating countries. Okay. Thank you for your attention. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you, IRI. Anybody has a comment or question?
If no,
Yeah, you can.
Okay, Director Kyung Kim, I really appreciate and then your presentation and also real practical collaboration, which is already invited by internship for 6 months from our CCOP member countries under the name of CCOP internship. So it is very practical and tangible. And one of the most important point is that one of the Indonesian students can not only after the internship can go through the PhD courses, which is very unexpected and very fantastic occasion. So my question is that I really hope that the collaboration to be continued, and then some more young generations, young students from CCOP member countries can have opportunity to be not only the internship, but to have a master and PhD course in your very prestigious university.
Sure, yeah. So actually, we already selected 2 interns from Brunei and Mongolia. But because of Corona, we cannot host them. But next year, we'll host them. In addition, we will select more interns from CCOP. So our university is fully government supported. So tuition fee is free, and we provide the living expense if they are admitted. So if you recommend the young government official, expert from your country, we will be happy to host them as our future student. Okay.
Okay. If none, so thank you again, IRA. Give him an applause for his excellent presentation and support to the CCOP. Next will be UKM. Yeah, we invite UKM.
Good morning dan selamat pagi. I'm Lim Chun Sian from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. I'm from the universities of very large faculty and institute. First like this. So I'm just from one institute. We have 14 institute and 14 faculty in University Kebangsaan Malaysia. It's a government-funded universities. So I'm from a center, from an institute. I think most of you will be familiar with, if you are dealing with disasters, normally it's from my center, Southeast Asia Disaster Prevention Research Initiative, or for most of the members country that do transboundary mapping will be familiar with our Geology department of program, and those in the Geopark and Geoheritage will be dealing with our Pusat Penyelidikan Langkawi or Langkawi Research Center. So next slide, please. The starting point of CCOP and UKM is started in 2007 with an MOU on projects information research that we compile information for CCOP and make available places and facilities for postgraduate research and other areas that's add on after with updating to times like SDG and Sendai frameworks. So we have sustainability science, governance, integrated management of geological research, management and risk, and environmental hazard. But then after that, we elevated to corporations, cooperating organizations. Next slide, please. So where I come from, we are in CIPRI. We do multidisciplinary research on climates, geological hazards, and technological hazards. So we tend to do more on holistic integrated approach that combining science, technology, and of course their impact and vulnerability. And we also do a lot of policy and governance. Next slide. So if you see this, our coverage area is around Southeast Asia. We do all of research, and we join research with the research institute and universities around Southeast Asia. Our focal point, we are also focal point for like national disaster NDMA for the Malaysia, and we are the coordinating for ANS. It's a Cambridge funded center. It's a Asian science for climate science, and we also a focus center for Asian Adapt, and we are also the coordinating to the Malaysian window to Cambridge, where we send postgraduates to Cambridge. That was in post-COVID. We have to revive this after the COVID. Next slide, please. So if the activity is in the report, so I just sum up in what kind of activities we do and collaborate with CCOP. We have aligned this with the Sendai framework, the 4 priorities. In most of the understanding risk, we do a lot of workshops, physical and online. If we pre-COVID time, we have at least 2 or 3 young researchers from members country to Malaysia for training courses or workshop and seminar. And after that, we do online in the COVID times. And we also highlighting good practices from publications. Normally, we tend to select young researchers' publications that we force words. We force young researchers to write instead of senior researchers to write. So we publish their research, and we conduct trainings under several heads. And again, we are targeting young researchers, as some of our funders also stress on that. And the current one will be under the UN U Inspires, and also I'll highlight about the IDRC projects. And the 4th, we are also highlighting multidisciplinary practices on where we want to go for multi-hazard early warnings. We have a system developed, and we also do a lot of open source data, open source mapping, and DRR on social entrepreneurships. That's how to get people to involve in DRR and make enough money to survive. You cannot do social work and you are very poor. Next slide, please. Okay, current technical activity with CCOPs, we follow the models from our MOU, is regional cooperation and capacity building for geoscientists. I will put this under 3 groups, addressing issues on DRR, climate change, geohazard, then geopark, geoheritage, and also we deal a lot with UNESCO Geopark and Asia Pacific Geopark Network, and also National Geopark of the Asian countries and members countries for this case. And the third one is young geoscientists, early career, and females researchers. That females part is part of the IDRC Canada projects. Next slide, please. One example, we do projects. So one of example of our projects is with that's the involve I think BGS, the UK, Malaysia, JMG. We have completed this project, but I want to highlight about this project is this is multi-hazard forecasting local level. A lot of people do multi-level forecasting projects, but this one we combine the climatic models, because in lower latitude, you know, we have different climate, local climates. That's we have like water vapor is 70%. We are getting ready to rain anytime. So we have to tweak and design the locals, our we want to say tropical climate models, just to predict the weathers. So we have to merge that into our geophysical models. So in this project is the use of how we assess and model and forecast using climates and geological models. So there's a UK, BGS, and also GMG Malaysia mentioned about the 3D-KL. Actually, this project is, the 3D-KL is a spin-off from this, where in this project we collected a lot of the ground borehole data that compiled to build the 3D underground projects for KL for a start. And this project has been another turnkey where we are replicating this to other cities. It's currently being used in Kuala Lumpur for forecasting and early warning, but now we are replicating and another word maybe selling this to other cities. Next slide, please. So it's downscaling detections and multi-hazards. So we have to do from ground ups. Next slide, please. Next. Another projects we want to highlight is this work with Canada IDRC projects that want to foster long-term community and also members country Cambodia. This is a project funded by IDRC and it's work with our another partner in Cambodia, Phnom Penh universities. This project is to highlight to build community resilient to climate change in Malaysia and Cambodia, focusing how to empower females, entrepreneurs, and with the use of free GIS, open source, and crowdsourcing technology. So the sustainability of the projects can be inherited to the locals. And some of the activities involve understanding funders' requirements there, because all the researchers need to know what they have to do and how to build community resilience for climate change and how to register, how to make themselves a legal, social entrepreneurs. Next slide. This is all a flash of our activities. This is on how the trainings we do for young scientists. We have like Malaysian young youth delegations in collaboration with UKM, also our another cooperating organizations, YES, and also JMG, of course. So we do on how we geoscience communications. If you are in Malaysia, this month we have a GeoC which is a conference held in Langkawi by it's a association of all the geological societies of Southeast Asia, or sorry, ASEAN. That's we hold this every 2 years. It's participant from most of the ASEAN countries. So, we also do OpenStreetMaps hot mapping trainings for youngs and the local people in Southeast Asia. Now it's easy because it's online, and it's mostly been led by Indonesia, because Indonesia is quite good in this hot mapping. And we have trainings of trainers, how we train the local trainers to teach and communicate geoscience and disaster risk to their local people. Next slide, please. On geopark and geoheritage, normally we will deal with most of our Pusat Penyelidikan Langkawi or Langkawi Research Centers, where we now we only hold a lot of online trainings. Examples: geosite development for geoparks, geotourism, linking geology and culturals, community engagements. It's a long list, so it's in the reports. I'll just show you the pictures. Next slide, please. Then we also do a lot of policy and DRR and climate change resilient governance and policy. We have co-chair of IPCC in our centers, and also the contributing chapters for IPCC also in our institute, which we do a lot of policy advisory and how to do low regrets climate adaptation, where you adapt to the future 1.5 by behavioral change, economic, technology, that's not necessarily must use structure or infrastructures that you might invest in the wrong mitigations. Then we also conduct review for ASEAN. So, we completed ASEAN mapping exercise with India for Asian mapping exercise that review the institutional strength and regional bodies, entities associated with ASEAN disaster management. And we do policy recommendation for enhancing disaster resilience for business, medium and small business under APEX. And we also the supporting and technical support to our NDMA, our National Disaster Management Agency, for building a national risk registers. Next slide, please. So this is another platform for youth, for SETI and for DRR, where we build small and young association for all the young scientists that get together for disaster risk reductions. Next slide. So for future cooperation, we are hoping bilateral, where among CCOP members to works in disaster resilient cities, geohazards, of course, geopark, geoheritage, and geotourism, and geoscience for youth and early career researchers. Because early career researchers not necessarily young, but they are just 5 years into their career. And we also hope we can get more publications that go into index, because every year CCOP have a lot of good papers. If you are writing it in a journal or index journals, it easily can be found in our academic system instead of in the CCOP archive. That's we are hoping something we can work on. Then, of course, we are hoping to work on the policy and governance of Sendais and SDG and also climate resilience. That's all. Thank you from me. Next.
Thank you, Ken. Any comment or question? So if there is none, you here. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lim, for your nice presentation on the activities of University of Kebangsaan, which is looks like even pandemic situation they have multiple activities and collaboration with CCOP member countries. The one you mentioned about the publication, actually, we, for example, this year we have already, from our thematic session of this year, we already have 33, Dr. Wu, how many? 33 full papers at the moment, 37. So maybe that could be one of the collaboration item between you to, because we would like to publish this one a more indexed journal than our own. Because if we publish this one in our own, it does not give much benefit to the authors. So, of course, we try to find out the SCI paper was some indexed paper of those 37 papers. So we could collaborate with you on this issue again.
Thank
So,
you.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, we are hoping at least we can find all the good paper in the at least Google's or Google Scholars. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. Okay, give him a big applause. Dear delegates, I think we are going to have a coffee break for 30 minutes, yeah? Then we can come back at 10:50. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a request before the coffee break that all advisory group members plus CCOPTS Director and Dr. Echo and Dr. Song Yang Wu to have a group picture on the stage, please. Thank you. Now, before going for break, but the rest who are not involved, you can have the break. All the cooperating countries and cooperating organizations, as well as the honorary advisors with Dr. Echo and Director of the CCOP Technical Secretariat and Dr. Wu, please, you are invited to have a group photo on the stage. Thank you.